what you can with regards to your resistance bands. And again, as I said, you can always improvise with lightweight hand weights. You can even go so far as to improvise with cans of soup or full bottles of water, things like that. Integrate in, guys, your Pilates rings, your active motion bars when you can. But hand weights, lightweight hand weights are really great if you don't have the bands set up. I'm going to be top loaded with my resistance band. If you were using a door jam, I would probably be going more like middle of the door, unless your bands were really long and light, then you could go top loaded. It all depends on how tall and how high your door is. So I'm going to start first curling back, laying flat on my back. For the resistance bands, the closer you are to your anchor point, the less resistance you have, the more you're choked down towards the bottom ends of the resistance bands, the less tension, and you can always build up by reaching up higher or scooting down and away from your anchor point. So I'm going to hold on to my ends here, and they make all kinds of other great ones that are tubing that you can attach handles to, even some great ones that you can attach straps for hip work. There's a company that I really like called Body Elastics because it has a safety strap built into the tubing, and it's a nice little feature for safety purposes. So we're going to pull those shoulders down and back, little gap between the low back and the mat. Feet are flat to the floor, and we're going to exhale to bring the arms straight down by the side of the hip and thigh, and then slow as the arms glide up. Ribs and abdominals are knitted in, and we're going to exhale to press and pull. We're going to do mostly arm work, or using the weights and the resistance bands in our hands and for our arms today. Kind of getting used to that motion, used to the resistance. It's nice to do a couple reps and then adjust as needed if you want more or less tension. Bringing the right leg up to tabletop, holding that knee at 90. As we inhale to lower the foot towards the mat, we're going to press the arms down with the foot. So foot and arm lowers, and they return back up to their start position. Pausing with the arms at the top, we're going to lower the foot and the leg, keeping that knee bend. Toes going to tap the mat, and we're going to alternate now. Right knee lifts to tabletop as we press down with the arms. Working that opposite motion of the arms and the leg. Resetting, bringing the right foot flat to the mat. Connect the shoulders down and in. We're going to lift that left leg up to tabletop. Left leg and both arms are going to move down towards the mat and the floor. Press and lower. Ribs and abdominals are knitted in. Keeping that hinge at the hip, maintaining that 90-degree angle at the knee. And one more, then we're going to change up and swap the arm and the leg movement. So we're going to start with that left foot down towards the mat. Arms are up, toes pointed on that left side. As we bring the left leg to tabletop, we press the arms down. Arms and legs move away from the center line. And left foot returns back to the mat. Working our little pelvic tilt, bringing the arms straight down by the side of the hip. We're going to hold here, drawing the shoulders down, and exhale to tilt and imprint the low back flat against the mat. And slow as you reset, curling back towards the sacrum, back towards the tailbone. Keeping those arms long, tension at the back of the arm, elbows are straight. And last one. I'm going to release the resistance band for just a moment. We're going to do a couple shoulder bridges without the resistance, without the weight, reaching the arms nice and long. Keeping a nice neutral spine. We're going to exhale to push into the feet, press and lift the hips up as we knit the ribs in, engaging in through the glutes, and slow to lower. Maintaining that neutral spine throughout. And one more. Reaching back, collecting back to the bands. We're going to add the press of the arms. I'm going to wrap my hands once just to give myself a little bit more resistance, but also to take a little bit of pressure off the saddle joint near my thumb. On the exhale, press the arms down, lift the hips up. Arms reset as the hips lower. Feeling that tension at the back of the arm. Ribs and abs knit in, trying not to flare the ribs or arch the back as you lift. And one more. We'll bring our knees to tabletop position. And we're going to work into our leg changes. We'll hold our arms straight up overhead for just a few reps of the legs before we add the arms. Inhale, right leg lowers, keeping that knee bend to tap the floor with the foot. And we slow to change. Alternating from side to side. We'll pause at the top. Arms come straight down, long by the side of the hips, and we're going to continue to alternate, side to side. Maintaining that nice tension in your bands with the arms straight, shoulders retracted back and down. Last one each side. And we'll draw the knees towards the chest, stretch through the low back. Feet come back to the mat. We'll release the bands once again, interlace our fingers, Bringing your hands back behind the head to support the head and the neck. Anchored into the tailbone, so you have that little gap between the low back and the mat. Sliding those shoulders down, and on that exhale, you're going to fold along the mid-ribs to lift the head, neck, and chest. Inhale to pause at the top, and exhale to curl and reset down and back. Maintaining that even balance from ribs to hips, right to left side, so there's no shifting or overweighting one hip or one side of the shoulder blades. One more. Reaching up, collecting the bands once again. We're going to press down with the arms while we add our chest lift for a bit of hundreds prep. Exhale, arms lower, we lift, head, neck, and chest. Slow to reset. Keep that weight in the tailbone. We're folding in along the mid-ribs as we lift. And last one. Resetting the upper body, we're going to work into our modified single leg extension. And that is with that float of that right foot to begin with, and we reach and lengthen that right leg forward out long over the mat. And then exhale to draw it back. As we reach with the leg, we press with the arms. That leg is hovering along the mat. And as the knee bends, heel to hip, arms rise. Bending that right knee, placing the foot flat. We'll do one on the left side without the arms to begin with, floating that left foot, and inhale to reach that leg nice and long out, and exhale to bend, returning the heel back towards the hip. Now we'll add the arms. As we reach and straighten that left leg, arms are straight, they press down, and slow to reset. Ribs and abdominals are pulling down and in, knitting in tight. We're going to hover both feet up off of the mat. The higher your feet are, the less stress and strain it puts on your low back, as well as how close you bring your knees towards your chest. So scale along that range, hovering those feet right above the mat. And we're going to press the arms down. Right arm will lift and lower. Left arm will lift and lower. Keeping one arm down at your side to maintain that tension while the feet slightly hover up off of the mat. You could take the feet and the legs out of the movement completely and leave them flat on the mat. One more each arm. Arms rise and feet lower. We'll release our bands. We'll work a little bit of a shoulder stretch. Legs are going to be separate, feet flat to the mat, reaching the arms nice and long. On that inhale, right arm reaches straight up overhead, coming almost palm up as it reaches back by the ear. And right arm glides forward and down, back by the hip. Left arm and hand reaches long, reaching up overhead, palm up towards the ceiling. Open and stretch. And resetting that left side. Right arm again reaches up as you draw the back to the mat, ribs and abdominals draw together towards that center line. Start to pick out any imbalances. If you feel one side has more restriction than the other, hang out on that stretch and open up that restricted side for an extra breath or two. One more right. And last one left. We're going to work through our arms supine, bringing our legs to tabletop, reaching up, collecting your bands. We've done quite a bit of extension, drawing the arms straight down, so I'm going to work right into our down circles. We're going to exhale, bringing the arms straight down with the bands, down the center, circling out, back up and around, maintaining that tension in the resistance bands. Allowing the arm to glide smoothly in the shoulder. Nice and smooth as you open out to your T, trying not to let the rib cage flare. Drawing the back flat down into the mat. One more down circle. We'll hold here at tabletop, and as we press the arms down, we're going to send the right leg forward. As the knee draws back, the arms rise, and we switch legs. Keeping that even weight from shoulder to shoulder, hip to hip, reaching and sending the leg longer and straighter forward out over your mat, over the floor. Last one, right and left. Draw the knees in towards the chest to stretch. And we'll return back to tabletop position and reverse our circle direction. Drawing those shoulders down, connecting the ribs and the core down and in towards the spine. Arms are going to come out to a T position. Pull in towards the side of the thigh and hip and up through the center. Nice, smooth circular motions.
ensuring that you're not arching the mid-back as you pull the arms out towards that T position, keeping that mid and upper back anchored and connected to the mat, to the floor. And last 2 circles. We're going to add our chest lift to the single leg extensions. On the exhale, arms lower as the chest lifts. Right leg goes forward. Inhale to reset. Folding along the mid-ribs. You can keep the chest lift out, working just the arms and the legs. One more each side. We'll release our straps, bring our knees to our chest, and move into our happy baby stretch. Grabbing the feet or the back of the legs, drawing the knees out towards the shoulders or just past the shoulders, and we're gonna rock from hip to hip. One more breath. And we'll bring our feet back down, flat to the mat, knees bent. Collecting your bands once again. I'm going to draw the elbows down by the side of the ribs and the waist. Keeping that elbow floated up off of the mat, upper arm is parallel to the floor. On the exhale for our tricep, we're going to straighten the elbow and inhale to bend, moving just the forearm, hand and wrist. Last 2. And we'll rest the arms. Bringing the feet together, knees together, arms are going to go out to our T, palms up. And we're going to inhale to take the legs over to the right, rotating along the mid-ribs to stretch through the mid-back. And exhale to come back to center. Shift and twist to the other side, legs tip left, anchoring that right shoulder. Switching back and forth, finding a nice little glide, nice little movement through the mid-ribs. Last one, right and left. We'll bring our arms down. I'm going to tuck the hands right underneath the hips for a little bit of corkscrew. So the hand into the hip will add that little posterior tilt of the hip back, decompress the low back. We bring knees to tabletop, extend the legs, and then flex at the ankle to bring the toes back towards the shins. Taking the legs over to the right, we're going to inhale down that right side, up the left, and cut across to center, reversing our direction to the left. Down that left side, up the right, and back to center. Alternating each direction, making your shoulders your foundation that connect you to the mat and to the floor. Opposite hip can lift as you work that rotation through the mid-ribs. And last one, moving to the left. Bending the knees, we'll send that left leg out nice and long, remove the hands, draw that right knee towards the chest, drawing the shoulders down, and then right knee will cross body towards that left shoulder to stretch to the outside of the hip. Try to keep the left leg pointing straight up towards the ceiling, at least the knee facing up towards the ceiling. Drawing that right leg cross body, light little pull up towards the chest and that left shoulder to deepen that stretch. And we switch sides. Right leg extends long to the mat, drawing that left knee towards you. And then left leg crosses that center line and reaches over towards that right shoulder for that extra stretch to the outside of the hip and up the side of the thigh. Gliding the knee up towards that right collarbone slightly to move and floss the leg and the hip. And we'll reset. We'll bring our legs once again to tabletop. Reaching up, collecting your bands. We're going to work into our hundreds prep, grabbing hold of the bands. Work a little bit lower and then start to choke up if you need more tension. We're going to add our leg extensions to this hundreds prep. On the exhale, arms lower, chest lifts, both legs reach. And slow to reset. Working on that nice deep fold through the mid-ribs, getting the chest as high as you can. And last two. Slow to reset. We're going to work into our pelvic curl. So feet are flat to the mat, knees are slightly apart, lined up with your sit bones. We're going to work that articulation of the spine. If you shouldn't articulate, you'll work your strict shoulder bridge. So for our pelvic curl, as we begin to tilt our hips back, imprinting the low back, and beginning to lift the hips, we're going to press the arms down, lifting up into that bridge, and then working that articulation through the mid-ribs along the spine as we roll back down to the mat and flow through to the tailbone. Nice and smooth with that movement through the spine. Slow as you lower the arms. Really trying to retract those shoulders back and down. And one more. Releasing the bands, we're going to switch up to a kneeling position facing the bands. And you could do this kneeling seated to your heels or up in your tall kneeling position. Closer again to your anchor point, the less resistance you have, the farther you back away, the harder it is. Arms are going to come out in front. We're going to drop those shoulders back and down, and we're going to exhale to pull. Arms are going to pull down and back. And you could do any of this work with lightweight dumbbells, hand weights, improvising with full water bottles. Last two. Arms are going to come out in front, and we're going to open out to our T position. Pulling out, squeezing shoulder blades back in together. Finding that nice, long, supported position through the spine by actively engaging your glutes. Ribs and abs knit in. Last two for our pull aparts. Bending the elbows, drawing the shoulders down, drawing them back by the side of the hips. I'm going to take a reverse grip with my hands so I can go palm up, and I'm going to pull apart, rotating the upper arm in the shoulder. If you're holding dumbbells, a hammer position for the hand and the fist works. And last three. Arms are going to go out in front. I'm going to scoot back a little bit more so I get a bit more tension for my row. I'm going to lean back just a little bit as I drive those shoulders down, and I'm going to pull elbows out to the side as I draw my hands towards the ribs, towards the mid ribs and bra line. Retracting those shoulder blades back and down. almost as if you're pinching your spine with your shoulder blades. Keeping your glutes active, protecting the low back, trying not to sit back to your heels. And arms glide forward. Having a nice grip on the resistance bands, we slide the shoulders down. We're going to go for our thigh stretch, and on our inhale, we're going to hinge at the knee, fall back, and then slow to rise. Nice tall kneeling position, trying not to break at the hip. The more resistance you have, the easier it is for this stretch, the more supportive it is. So if you need more assistance, you'll choke up onto your bands to make that movement easier, and slow as you come forward. Last two, tucking the tailbone, gliding those shoulders down, and we hinge back from the knee. Last one. Coming to a seated position, legs are nice and straight. You're facing your bands. We're going to work an assisted roll up. So this is really great for those of you that are having trouble doing the roll up in the mat classes. Adding a resistance or a weight out in front will be helpful in assisting with that roll up. So if you need more help, you just choke up onto your bands. Gliding those shoulders down, we're going to tilt the hips back. Begin to imprint the spine down along the mat, curling and rolling back. One segment, one vertebra at a time. On your exhale, as you lift your head, chin to chest, folding at the midribs, curling and rolling up, shoulder over hip, sitting up, sitting tall. Trying not to shrug the shoulders, keeping the arms reaching out long in front of you. And we're articulating up and down the spine, segment by segment, piece by piece. And last one. Sitting up, sitting tall. I'm going to change my position of my hands, and I'm going to keep a flat back, hinge back, and I'm going to bicep curl. Bending at the elbow, bringing the hands by the face. Long through the spine, shoulders down, ribs and abs knit in. Two, one. Curling and stretching long out over the legs, flexing at the ankle, reaching and stretching. You can even release the bands, grab for the toes, and breathe into that stretch. One more breath. And we'll slow to reset, sitting up tall, reaching and collecting those bands once again. We're gonna hinge at the hip, leaning back, and I'm gonna bend my right elbow, pull the band by the chest, rotate through the mid-ribs, and unwind, untwist. Rotating towards the left, left elbow pulls back, hand by the chest, and reset. Alternating from side to side. And last one to the left. Curl and roll back. Rolling all the way to the mat. Resetting back to the floor. And on the inhale, we lift the head, chin to chest. Exhale, curl and roll. And reaching out long over the legs. Reaching out for the feet. Shoulders glide back and down. And we curl and roll back once again. Inhale to lift the head, drop the chin towards the chest. And fold and curl. Reaching out long over the legs. And last one. Releasing the bands, flexing the feet, sliding the legs apart, and reaching through the legs. Stretching forward. Crown of the head stretches past or for those toes as if you're reaching through and past the feet. Right hand will come off the foot. It'll reach under palm up, under the left arm. Taking your line of sight under that left arm, anchoring the right hip. And we'll switch. Right hand comes back to the leg or foot. Left hand, palm up under the right. Anchor that left hip. Bringing your line of sight under that right arm. And reset. Curling and restacking. Sitting up nice and tall. All right, guys, great work today. Nice job.